Job searching is the absolute worst. It sucks. There are just so many things you have to navigate, like updating your resume, updating your LinkedIn, reaching out to the right people, landing interviews, practicing for interviews. And all of that is just, it's exhausting. It's emotionally draining. And so when I got laid off, I put together a huge Notion template to make the process so much easier. Hi there. If you're new to my channel, I'm Sarah, and I make content about designing a life that you absolutely love. That means creating tools and templates to make life feel a little bit more organized and way more intentional. Today, we're tackling the job search. And listen, I am basically a job hunt veteran. I graduated right when the panini hit, landed my first big girl job, have worked across all different types of program management, strategy, analyst roles, and most recently got a new job after being laid off in 2 weeks. All of that to say, I have done this so many times, way more times than I have probably wanted to in my life. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the exact Notion template I use. It has everything from branding yourself, updating your resume, links to templates that I used for my visual one-pager and my portfolio. It has interview prep, ChatGPT prompts to actually use, and it's all free. You can literally grab the template down below. So let's just dive on in. Welcome to the job search playbook. It is literally one page, but filled with so much goodness. At the top, we have the navigation, and you'll see 4 different sections. If you're at the beginning of your job hunt, I highly recommend starting in the branding yourself section, and then you can use the remainder of the 3 sections relatively all at the same time because you're looking for opportunities, preparing for those interviews, and then also setting up coffee chats, probably all within the same time period. So starting with branding yourself, if you are just starting fresh, you're trying to update your resume, trying to figure out your story, I have steps on exactly how to walk through this. I give you some ideas on how to actually do a brain dump, what to paste into ChatGPT to synthesize those, and then how to audit your last few roles really thoroughly so that you can comprehensively review exactly what you did. So this top section you are going to use to actually help you distill and create some of these deliverables. Here is a table of like assets that I've created to help me tell my story, and I'll just walk through them really briefly. I'll have one polished resume, and this is just a clean version of my resume that typically can apply to the majority of roles. And I can also put it back into ChatGPT and say, hey, here's a role that I have that I'm interested in. Can you tweak my resume to support it before I submit my application? I have a quick template of what I use for my resume here. In addition to a polished resume that I would submit, I also always keep a master resume that has like a running list of everything that I've done so I can use it and look back on other areas that I might want to speak to. Like some of my volunteer experience has fallen off, but like I might speak to that in a personal example. Never delete anything, okay? Documentation is so phenomenal. The better record keeping you do, the easier it's going to be for you. Think about it as like creating your own little database. The next thing I have on here is my visual one-pager. This is just a nice visual placemat to show in interviews, to send over to someone before you chat with them, because it can tell your story easier on the eyes than a resume can. In addition to my visual one-pager, I typically send over a portfolio of things that I've previously built. I will say I use this internally at my company, so it was okay for me to share the artifacts that I've already created because they belong to the company. If you're applying externally, you might need to be more diligent about what you can and can't include, but this is just another way I have showcased in the past exactly what I do in my day-to-day job and how I think and solve problems and what my process actually looks like. So I would say the last 2 are definitely like nice to haves. I would 100% start with the first 3 if you need to prioritize. If you have time and like want to go the extra mile, think about doing the visual one-pager and the portfolio. Okay, so the next section is job opportunities, and this is really just to track, prep, and follow up on every role you're exploring. So I have the title, company, recruiter/contact if you've reached out to someone or you've gotten a referral, when you applied, and the status, date of last contact, a note, and the link to the job description. Here I've created 2 views. One is like all the opportunities. You can track everything that you've applied for. And then I like to just have a section that filters on the status for interviewing. But what's wonderful about this database is I've automated it so that if you click on new, it will have job opportunity template, and you can just retitle it the name of the new role that you're applying to. When you actually click onto that new page, it will populate the template that I created. In this template, you'll see there are 4 sections. And the first one is job description. I typically like to paste the full job description there so I can easily access it and I don't have to keep clicking on the URL. And sometimes they take job postings down. So if you don't have it, it's like, what did I actually apply for? What are they looking for? I also put in some like ChatGPT prompts to help you identify key priorities for the role. The next section is why this role. So I have some questions which will be really, really important when you go into interviews and they ask you, okay, what do you bring to the table? You can really start to align your strengths to the job description. And I also have another note here on how to prompt ChatGPT for that. Then I have an opportunity specific interview prep section. Now, there's a general interview prep section that I'll talk about a little bit later down here, but this is specifically for if you're in the interview stages of an opportunity. So what that looks like is you're going to want to curate your intro for this role. I have another link and I'll show you here how to actually create a pitch for that. And then I also have a note on what additional interview prep you should do for this role. So for example, asking ChatGPT, what are 10 behavioral questions I might get for this role? And then the last section is just interview notes. I like to keep everything organized in terms of when I talk to specific people from the team. And so I typically like to use a toggle with the date, interviewer name, and that way I can just really easily keep all of my notes condensed in one area. Moving on, this next section for interview prep is the absolute most important. And this is coming from a girl who used to absolutely bomb interviews to someone that has succeeded in going through the brutal Amazon interview process, landed an offer, flying out to the UK for a JP Morgan Super Day. And the interview loop that I did to land at my current company was 10 rounds, bro. So I'm just saying, your girl has killed some interviews in the past, and it all comes down to practice. The way I have this broken out is into 3 parts. The first, tell me about yourself. This is really about navigating how to introduce yourself in the best way. I give you my exact structure I use to do the intro and identify how to talk about your strengths and your weaknesses. The next part is the behavioral questions. So I am a big believer in using the STAR method, which is situation, task, action, and result. What I've created over the past few years is a library for all my STAR stories. Now, I just keep a running list of all of the examples I have. I just keep adding and adding and adding. And it's so helpful because even if an example might be outdated, you can still use it to inspire new stories. So the category structure I like to have is problem solving and ambiguity, cross-functional collaboration, leadership and influence, culture and self-awareness, failing, making mistakes, feedback, and growth. In each one of these sections, I give example questions and then also the little template I use to actually create an example. So I'll put in like the title of my example, where it was at, and then do the whole situation, task, action, and result. This is literally like what I read through multiple times out loud when I'm preparing for my interviews. Now, the last part here is role-specific prep. So this is obviously highly, highly dependent on any role that you might prepare for. Some might have technical questions if you're an engineer. Some might have case studies if you're on the business side, portfolio reviews, etc. Obviously, I can't cover everything. So I gave kind of a list of things you might need a prep for, and then also a ChatGPT prompt for what you might need to prepare. In the past, I've done casing interviews, and what has helped me the most is actually watching YouTube videos, seeing someone walk through that. Highly recommend that as an alternate way to learn as well, in addition to, books and ChatGPT. And then the last section is just networking and coffee chats. Everyone says this, but truly your net worth is your network. I feel like one of the most important things I did when I was laid off was creating connections, especially with my team and people that I've worked with, leveraging them to help me find other roles. So I start off with some quick tips that helped me, and then I dive into coffee chat templates. These are to help you kind of start the conversation with someone you want to get connected with. It's kind of silly because obviously how you reach out to someone is going to depend on your relationship to them. So I actually, in the reach out templates section, have someone you know really well, someone you met but don't know well, and then someone that you don't know at all. And then I also have a drop down for like what to actually say during coffee chats, because it can be kind of awkward. So this is kind of a loose structure I use. Obviously, it doesn't need to follow it to a T. I just like to let the conversations flow and really focus on building a connection with someone rather than just like asking them for, a referral or something like that. And then just a quick follow-up note. And the very last thing I have in this template is just a networking tracker. So just a database of connections, the name, role, company, last connect date, notes, status, and your contact. And you can write any notes in your conversation. It's just a blank page in which I like to store for notes when I've connected with someone. So that is everything that I've included in my job search playbook and template. Again, you can find it linked down below. And since this is my first Notion template, so exciting, I would love to hear if y'all have any feedback for me. Drop me a comment. Let me know if there's anything else that you would love to see included or something that you found helpful. I would absolutely love to hear from you. If you like this video and you just want to learn a little bit more about what happened with my layoff and how I got through all of it, here are 2 videos I think you might like, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for being here. Bye.